Hello, this is the 1.1 video part 1, and this is for college algebra dual credit, and this is going to make an attempt in as many parts as I can here to get the video for 1.1a, 1.1b, 1.1c, and 1.1d. Okay, so this video will be going through the Google slide notes for 1.1.2 or 1.1.1. Okay, so in 1.1.2. And when we do 1.1.2, we will talk about how that's going to work, okay? So these are the 1.1.2 notes. Okie dokie. So 1.1.1 starts out with the definition of an angle. Now, as you can see from the Google slide notes, that this is an angle in trigonometry. This is the vertex. This is the initial side, which will be the positive x-axis, and then the angle goes this way. Okay? So we talked about that in class, where we talked about the initial side was the positive x-axis, and the terminal side was who knows where. And then this direction was positive, and this direction was negative. So we then moved on to putting the angle in standard position, recognizing that we have a positive angle and a negative angle. Then we came across this concept of a radian. And a radian is the size of the angle when the radius of the circle is equal to the length of the arc. Now, if you think about it, pi is about 3.14. I'm just going to call it 3. And if we do 2 times pi, that's roughly 6. So we make 1 pi, or 1 radian, 2 radians, 3 radians, 4 radians, 5 radians, and 6 radians all the way around the circle. So if I go 2 times pi, that's a complete revolution of the circle, and that's the measure of the angle. And then pi is halfway, right? So pi radians is halfway. All right, so that's a radian measure. Now we've got to remember that between this is the first quadrant is between 0 and 1/2 pi, which is pi over 2. Now 1/2 pi to pi is quadrant 2, and 1 pi to 1.5 pi is quadrant 3, and then 1.5 pi to 2 pi would be quadrant 4. So we have to remember that if we have an angle, say, in the 4th quadrant, like this, then it's going to be between 1.5 pi and 2 pi. All right, so this is a good slide to take a look at. Now, coterminal angles, we decided, were these angles that we get when we have the same terminal side. Again, we have the initial side here, and then the terminal side here. Now, one of the angles in this diagram is alpha. And one of the angles in this diagram is beta. And you can see they have the same terminal side. Okay? So keep that in mind when you're looking at coterminal angles. Now, to figure out the coterminal angles, you're going to add and subtract 2 pi. So this one says find one positive and one negative angle coterminal to theta, this is theta, equals 3/4 pi. Now 3/4 pi can be written as 3 pi over 4, so those are the same numbers. Okay, so we have to sketch it first. So let's sketch this 3/4 pi. And to understand where 3/4 pi is, you have to know that pi is here. But 3/4 pi is about 3/4 of the way to pi. Okay, so please remember that this is 3/4 pi here. Now, to find a coterminal angle, positive coterminal, we're going to add 2 pi. So we're going to plus 2 pi. So we're going to take 2 pi plus 3/4 pi, and that's going to be 2 3/4 pi. Well, that should make sense, sort of. So if I go 2 pi and then 3/4 pi, I have the same terminal side as that angle right there. Now, a negative coterminal would be that 3/4 pi. We're going to subtract 2 pi. So it would be that 3/4 minus 2, which is negative 1 1/4, which is negative 5/4 pi. Now that negative 5/4 pi, I'll just do it in green. That's negative 1 1/4. So this little space right here, that's 1/4. And this is 1. But it's negative, remember. So because we're starting here, we're going down, which is negative. All right, so another coterminal angle to 3/4 pi is negative 5/4. So we have negative coterminal and positive coterminal. The next example says 13 pi over 6. Okay, so 13 pi over 6 is right here, this sketch, 13 pi over 6. We're gonna think about this, 13 pi over 6. Well, 13 over 6 is 2 1/6. So you're going to go 2 pi, right? There's 2 pi here. And then you're going to go 1/6 pi. All right, so 2 1/6 pi. 2 pi plus 1/6 pi is 13 over 6 pi. Now, we still need to find a positive and a negative coterminal angle. Now, this one's more intuitive, right? You got to think about this one. The positive coterminal angle, we don't have to add 2 pi, although we could, but we can see that a positive coterminal, if you think about this intuitively and think about it a little bit more carefully, it's going to be 1/6 pi, right? Because that 1/6 pi is another angle that has the same terminal side as 13 pi over 6. Okay, now that being said, what we're going to do is take 1/6 pi and we're going to subtract 2 pi. Now if we subtract 2 pi, we get negative, all right, negative 1 5/6 pi, right, which is negative 11 pi over 6. Okay, so if we look at that one's a little bit more intuitive too. Negative 11 pi over 6 is right here. All right, that's negative 11 pi over 6, and that's a coterminal angle. Now the problem with just subtracting 2 pi in this case is you might have to do it again. Watch. You're going to take that 2 1/6 pi minus 2 pi, right? And you end up with 1/6. That's still a positive angle. So you got to subtract it again. That's how you end up with that negative 11/6. See? So you have to think about it a little bit in connection to the sketches of the angle. All right? Okay, so let's move on to, let's try this one. Okay, negative 2/3 pi. Well, the sketch of negative 2/3 pi sketch of negative 2/3 pi is right here. Now that's going to be not quite 1, right? So it's not negative 2/3 pi is right about here. All right, so we've got to be pretty careful there, but you know, we have to now try to come up with a positive coterminal angle and a negative coterminal angle. Now, to get a negative, or let's do a positive first, okay? To get a positive coterminal angle, it's going to be this one, right? That's going to be the positive coterminal here. So how do we get it? Well, let's think about it now. What you're going to do is you're going to take that negative 2/3 and you're going to add 2 pi to it. All right, so negative 2/3 plus 2, well, that's a fraction, but that's okay, right? Because negative 2/3 plus, we're going to make this 6/3. That's going to give me 4/3, okay? So this green angle is 4/3 pi. Now that's one positive coterminal. Now, to get a negative coterminal, or a negative coterminal angle for that one, is going to be, you're going to take that negative 2/3, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to add a negative 2 pi, right? So you're going to add negative 2 pi to it. So you go all the way around to get that 2 pi, and then you're going to go to that negative 2/3 right there. Okay, so we're going to take that negative 2/3 and we're going to add negative 2 pi. So your negative coterminal angle and your positive coterminal angle are determined a lot by your sketches of the angle itself, which is that negative 2/3. Okay, so the negative 2/3 plus negative 2/3 pi plus negative 2 is going to be negative 2 2/3 pi. That's your negative coterminal angle. So really understand where those sketches are, all right? All right, so moving on now to complements and supplements. Now, remembering from geometry what complements are is very helpful here. So complements of an angle is add to 90. Now, 90 degrees is pi over 2. So you're going to add to pi over 2. So whatever two angles add to pi over 2, those two angles are complementary. And then the supplement of an angle, you're going to add to 180. And 180 degrees, that's equal to pi. Okay? So that's what you have to remember in this problem. Now, 2/5 pi. Find the complement and supplement of 2/5 pi. All right? So we're going to take that 2, right, that 2/5, and we're going to subtract 1/2, because that's the pi over 2 is 1/2 there. So this is going to be, this will be 4/10 minus 5/10. All right, 4/10 minus 5/10 is 4/10 minus 5/10 is negative 1/10. Okay, so if it's negative, that means that, did I do that right? 2/5 minus, or no, I'm going to take that. Oh no, I didn't do it right. What was I thinking? Let me come back in the next video and start the complements and supplements. Instead of 2/5 minus 1/2, I got to do 1/2 minus 2/5 to find the difference. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video now because I only have 15 minutes per video.